玉の拳などかほどにも効かんわい。お前はもう死んでいる。何？もうは匠できれぶ。
Hey, what's up guys? Today we're going to be doing an analysis of Nero from Black Clover and looking at the little subtle things that she's done throughout the series and all that. So let's start out with Nero was a girl this whole entire time and the proof is right in front of us, along with how she was a special bird like we all knew she was. So let me start at the very beginning of Black Clover when Asta got attacked by the anti-birds. And we all know Nero is one herself and didn't attack him like the rest of them at first. She also kept sitting on Asta's head throughout the journey after the first time we see him sitting on top of his head at the very beginning. And throughout the show we see Nero peck Asta for what it appears to be like for comedy reasons, but little did we know, if you caught on to little things like Nero pecking Asta when Mimosa was hugging him, it was a telltale sign that she was probably jealous or something, because Nero is probably a tsundere from the looks of it. If you also look at the photo with Asta with his little harem going on, you can see that Nero is sitting on top of his head, indicating that she was a girl this whole entire time. Nero will also help Asta find the stones that we didn't know at the time would help resurrect the first Wizard King that we found out later on inside this newest chapter out. She also guided him on other things throughout the journey, like when she was in a dungeon, or also times when she knew about Asta's swords when he was fighting Lich. It also makes sense why we see Nero sitting on top of the Wizard King, and I always had a hunch about Nero being special from the very beginning, but especially when the Queen of Witches, who is centuries old herself due to her knowing how the elves got killed 500 years ago that we found out later on. She looked at Nero and saw something that was special about her, which at that moment I knew she was centuries old, if not older, when she recognized him. And then it was confirmed in the latest chapter that the Wizard King had Nero using her sealing magic or object imprisonment magic, whatever you want to call it, to seal him before his death for 500 years and gather the stones to unseal him afterwards. With Nero, this has opened new doors to possibly another new race, like recently we got introduced to Charmy being a hybrid of a dwarf and a human, and if we go a Fenrir's statement, he was saying that her magic was subtle yet immense magic power, in quotes. She's definitely someone very powerful for sure to be compared to the elves, and they're pretty much one of the most powerful races in Black Clover. And then he said, are they elves or something greater, which is possibly a new race that is being introduced. And also personally I thought she was a boy, but when you really look at it, she wasn't a dude this whole entire time, which caught me off guard personally. But if you really look at it, Tabata has did this the second time, making us think that a character was a dude, but it was actually a plot twist and it's actually a girl. He did this with Grey first, making us think that, she was a dude with the big male figure she had. But of course, later on when we found out she was a girl, she ran out of mana inside the underwater temple arc when they were fighting Vito. I always told people that Nero was a special bear all along, but others didn't quite believe me and my other bros when we told them. But now that they see that she is, they got proven wrong. But yeah, that's pretty much all to talk about today on, my analysis on Nero. It always gave us hints on Nero, what were like her motives, but it wasn't like very direct about it. It was kind of like these indirect motives, like, Nero gathering the stones to revive the Wizard King and all that. But yeah, make sure you guys subscribe if you guys are new, like this video, support your boy. But anyways, been your boy, D about Boy. I'm out.